What is happening, you guys? It's time to recap week 7 in the NFL, and we're doing it from a hotel room. I am on the road, but tonight is NBA opening night. Super exciting time. The Rockets take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Lakers host the Golden State Warriors. So it should be two awesome games. And then obviously all the rest of the teams will play tomorrow, but we're talking football here. We're recapping week 7 in the NFL. Obviously, got off to a Thursday night game. I'm going to be looking at my computer here and checking out the games as we go through the slate. The Bengals in that crazy Thursday night game where they took care of the divisional rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And let me say something about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers looked great. It's that Pittsburgh defense that suddenly looked like they forgot how to play football. And it was against Joe Flacco in his only second start with the Bengals. And suddenly the Bengals look like they're not that bad. And they're sitting at 3-4. Obviously, Baltimore is kind of the worst team in that division right now. Cleveland's not great. And with the Bengals beating the Steelers, they're 3-4 now. And the Steelers are 4-2. And they just won the head-to-head matchup. So don't look now. But, I mean, with Joe Flacco, maybe the Bengals can make some noise. The biggest thing for me with the Bengals has been that their defense hasn't been atrocious. They haven't been great, but they haven't been atrocious. And going into the season, that was my concern with the Bengals. So if Joe Flacco can kind of keep them around 500, especially in this division where now Baltimore, whenever they get Lamar Jackson back, is going to be trying to catch up, and they still have to play Pittsburgh twice. Maybe this opens it up for the Bengals to try to make a little run and kind of hang in there until Joe Burrow gets back in. But at this point, Flacco looked good. Surprising loss there for the Steelers. All right, Sunday morning, the Rams woke up, and this game was already 14-0 Rams, and they took on the Jaguars. This was a London game, so it was super early, and I'll just say that, man, the Jags, I had some hopes for them, thinking they could be a little bit better. It does not look it. Yes, the record says 4-3, but they don't look like a 4-3 football team. They lost 35-7 to the Rams without Puka Nacua. Imagine if they had him. So, again, I mean, Davante Adams showed flashback to his great years with Green Bay. He looked like that. Stafford obviously is balling out. And that division, the NFC West, is crazy. Between the Rams, the 49ers, and the Seahawks, who picked up the win last night, I mean, that division is stacked. And now the Rams are one of those stacked teams at 5-2. All right, the Saints and the Bears, this one I actually did predict right. Because I said I think the Bears have a little runway here where they could go off and get to possibly 6-2 by the time they actually get a tough game, because they've got some relatively bad opponents coming up, the Saints being one of them, and they got the job done. Caleb didn't play great, but 26-14, that's all you need. DeAndre Swift, 124 yards rushing, and ultimately you got the job done. They covered the spread, which I think was 4.5 is what it closed at. And like I thought, I mean, I really did think that the Bears were going to try to beat that spread, because I think Ben Johnson knows that these next few games for them are a chance, a huge confidence booster chance for them to start feeling like they're legit. If they get to 6-2, I mean, you got to start feeling good in Chicago. At that point, you just got to string together 3 or 4 more wins, and you're in the playoffs. So I think he knows how important these next few games are. Their next opponent is Baltimore, but Baltimore might still not have Lamar, so that should be a win for the Bears for them to continue going. But we'll see, obviously, how that injury report shakes out with Lamar. Dolphins at Browns. I don't know how the Dolphins still have Mike McDaniel as their head coach, because this team has just caved. They lost to the Browns 31-6. This was only the Browns' second win of the season. They're 2-5. Dylan Gabriel only had 18 passes. He went 13 for 18 and 116 yards, but it was Quinshon Judkins that had 3 rushing touchdowns that helped the Browns take over. And Tua didn't play well. Obviously, he called out the leadership. With him being one of the leaders, that's not a good look. And they're just a mess. The Browns, though, 31-6. This year for them is about seeing if they have a franchise quarterback or not. So we'll continue to check that out as we continue on. All right, the Patriots took on the Titans, and this was the Mike Vrabel back in Tennessee game. They got down early, but then they clearly were the better team. The Patriots are legit. And the Patriots also kind of have a soft schedule. They don't have a tough game until, I believe, week 10 when they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But in the meantime, they got to take care of business. They're sitting pretty at 5-2 right now in the AFC East and giving the Bills a run for their money. The Bills were off this week on a bye week, but the Patriots are sitting pretty in first place and have won the head-to-head matchup already. One more coming up later in the season in Foxborough. But Drake May looks tremendous. I mean, his stat line was incredible. I'm going to read off the numbers here for Drake May, but he went 21 for 23, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, a QBR of 135.9, 21 for 23, 2 incompletions. That is it for Drake May. So don't look now, but Drake May is in the running for MVP because the Patriots are 5-2. All right, Raiders at Chiefs. Not much to talk about here, except the Chiefs are clearly back. Everybody that was freaking out with them when they were 0-2 has to, at this point, just admit that that was not the right, observation. And, yeah, the Chiefs are 4-3 now. They won 31-0. Things look right with them. Rashee Rice came back, had a touchdown. Yeah, and Mahomes is Mahomes. So, all right, we'll move on past that. The Eagles at the Vikings. This was the Carson Wentz experience for Minnesota. Missed throws all over the place. Their defense made Jalen Hurts look like Patrick Mahomes. And you got to give Hurts credit. He's a winner. I've never been out on Jalen Hurts because he wins. And yes, he might not, be the prettiest passer or whatnot, but if you win, you got my respect. And he had a great game, 19 for 23, 326, 3 touchdowns. And the Vikings just kept shooting themselves in the foot. Wentz threw a pick six, Wentz threw a punt-style interception, and just too many mistakes for the Vikings. And the Eagles capitalized, and the Eagles, I love it. They were ballsy. They made passes when everyone expected a run, and they converted on long down plays all the time. It was like a 3rd and 13. They would convert a 4th and 5, and they would convert. So it was just like they would just get it done when they needed to, and they're 5-2. And I mean, after this game, you kind of start getting back on the Eagles bandwagon, but we'll see how they do moving forward. Meanwhile, the Vikings play on Thursday. It was just announced that Carson Wentz is going to start. I'm tired of this as a Viking fan. I don't want to see Carson Wentz. We want to see J.J. McCarthy. This season is about developing J.J. McCarthy, and the longer you put that off, the less experience you give the kid, the less time you get to evaluate him. And the unfortunate part is if, he doesn't play great the last 10 games of the season, it does feel like a lot of fans in the organization might start giving up on him, which I think is so stupid because if you remember all these quarterbacks that right now are shining like Drake May, they didn't play great in their first 10 starts of the season. And yes, injury has pushed that back for J.J. McCarthy, but at the end of the day, he's only started 2 games. So in my opinion, as a Viking fan, I would sacrifice wins so that we get him experience. If that means this season ends in a 7-10 record, but McCarthy started 10 games, we got to start seeing him grow, then great. That is what the purpose of this season is. I don't know who in their right mind was expecting the Vikings to win the Super Bowl this year, or, McCarthy to somehow come in and never have started an NFL game and be somehow a great quarterback. That's not realistic. So at the end of the day, we just need to see him be able to essentially get some reps. All right, Panthers and Jets, not much to talk about here. Justin Fields was benched. Tyrod Taylor came in. He didn't play much better. The Jets are a mess. They're 0-7. Pretty much booked them to have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft at this point. Aaron Glenn leaves Detroit as a defensive coordinator, takes over this Jets franchise, and it's not looking good. They lost 13-6. Meanwhile, the Panthers, hey, don't look now, but they're 4-3. And maybe they can be one of those teams that starts making a push for that last playoff spot in the NFC. Giants and Broncos, craziest game of the year. Giants were up 19-0. Giants were up going into the 4th quarter, blew the lead. Then they came back and took the lead back just so that the Broncos would go back and kick a field goal and win it. Sorry, I'm going to call over here. But ultimately, the Broncos came back, got the job done. It's hard for me to trust this Broncos team because, I mean, yes, they scored 33 points in the 4th quarter, but why did it get to that? I don't understand. But they are 5-2. And they're at top of the AFC West, but the Chiefs are coming. I trust the Chiefs more than I trust this Denver team. Bo Nix looks like he sleepwalks through the first half and then suddenly turns it on when he has to, which maybe that's a winning quality, but ultimately I'm not a big fan of the way that these games have been playing out for the Broncos, so we'll see how they do moving forward. Hey, Colts finally demanding their respect. They went into LA and took on the Chargers and won 38-24. Daniel Jones looks good, and we sometimes forget they have Jonathan Taylor, who arguably you could make a case for being the best running back in the NFL. He went 16 carries for 94 yards and 3 touchdowns. Again, the Colts we got to talk about them. They're the real deal. 6-1 sitting at the top of the AFC. All right, last few here. Commanders at Cowboys. Cowboys got the job done 44-22. The big story of that is Jaden Daniels. Is he all right? Looks like he hurt his hamstring. It looked bad. He got an MRI, but things cleared out. So he might maybe just miss one game if best case scenario. But there's also a chance they're saying that he might play this next week. They kind of need him. They're 3-4, and it feels like their season's slipping away. But we'll see, obviously, on the injury front. Meanwhile, the Cowboys just, I mean, they make noise, don't they? They're entertaining. Dak 21 for 30, 264, and 3 touchdowns. So Dak's still playing great. 44-22 Cowboys. They're 3-3. Packers at Cardinals. Tight game the whole way. Packers get the job done. Micah Parsons, I'm here game. 3 sacks on this game. The ultimate question with the Packers is why do they always just have to win these close games like this? They did something similar when they hosted the Bengals coming off a bye week in Joe Flacco's first start there. And if you're legit, I expect you to dominate these teams. And right now they're not doing that. Not to say that they can't do that moving forward, but I expect the bigger things out of the Packers. Hey, they're still only 4-1-1, that other one being the tie with the Cowboys, but Detroit looks like the beast in the NFC North. Falcons, Niners, Sunday Night Football, the Niners, they do this all the time, don't they? At some point, you might want to think to yourself, like, they should tank the season to get a good draft pick and get younger moving forward, but they refuse to do that. They play through injuries. They do what they have to do. Mac Jones has been in there. He does enough. Their defense without Fred Warner does enough. And they beat a good Falcons team that's 3-3 now, while the Niners are 5-2. It's incredible what they do. Props to Kyle Shanahan for keeping that ship going and keeping it steady there. All right, the Monday night games last night. The Buccaneers took on Detroit. Buccaneers just have way too many injuries. And you know what, though? Aside from that, Detroit's offense did not play well. And Detroit's defense stepped up. And that's the difference, I think. They have Kelvin Shepard now as the defensive coordinator. Aaron Glenn is gone. And the reason this Lions team, I'm saying it now, when the deadline comes up in 2 weeks, they should be aggressive and go all in because they have a squad. And even defensively, Aiden Hutchinson is just in the backfield all day long. And call me crazy, but if there's a way for them to get Max Crosby away from the Raiders and bring him to Detroit, and you have Crosby on one side and Aiden Hutchinson on the other side, it's a wrap. There's not a world in which I don't see them winning the Super Bowl at that point because even Patrick Mahomes, when he has no time, looks human. So at this point, if there is a way for them to get another pass rusher that can have the Lions living in the backfield, no matter how dinged up their secondary is, or even if they're not that great in the secondary, with 1.5 or 2 seconds to pass, those quarterbacks are not going to be doing much. And that secondary for the Lions won them the game yesterday. Again, the Bucs were really banged up, but still, the Lions look like the best team in the NFC, in my opinion. So we'll see, obviously, with the games coming up, how they continue to play, but they look really good. And last game, Texans at the Seahawks. All I'll say is that Texans offense is the worst offense I've seen in the NFL. Yes, even worse than Cleveland. And they have C.J. Stroud, but that offensive line cannot do anything. C.J. Stroud was their leading rusher. They can't block for him. They can't get a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1. They go backwards on runs. It's just a bad offense. And the Texans, I'm giving up on them because they're 2-4, and the defense shows spirit. I mean, the defense got them a touchdown in this game, and they still lost 27-19. The Seahawks were trying to give them the game. I mean, they did a wide receiver pass with Cooper Kupp that got intercepted. Darnold threw an interception. They had a fumble. I swear the Seahawks, I think, had 4 or 5 turnovers, and they still won by 8 points, with one of those touchdowns being super late in the game for the Texans. And the last thing I'll say before I leave you guys is I don't understand these coaches. Week 1, Ben Johnson did this. There was 2 minutes and 4 seconds left on the clock. They only had, I think, a timeout or two. I think 1 timeout left, and they were kicking off to the Vikings, who were winning the game at the time. And I was already thinking if the Vikings just run this ball out and waste 4 seconds, that'll push the 2-minute warning. And the Bears kicked it off, and the Vikings returned it, and it was a mistake, and you can let that slide because it was Ben Johnson's first ever head coaching game. DeMeco Ryans last night did the exact same mistake, kicked it off, the Seahawks ran it back, and they wasted 40 seconds that they could have had, which it didn't matter. They ended up picking up the first down anyway. But the coaches that make that mistake, to me, should be a fireable offense, especially when you had this happen in week 1 and you couldn't learn from the other coach's mistake. That's crazy to me. You guys are in the NFL. You're managing a professional football team. And I don't understand how, if they would have gotten the ball back, they would have gotten the ball back yesterday with 20 seconds left. Had they just kicked that ball out of bounds, they would have gotten the ball back with a minute left. That is a huge difference. 40 seconds. and you would have essentially just been giving up 5 yards to the Seahawks of their starting possession. And at the end of the day, those 5 yards are irrelevant. You could have given them 10 yards because they're not kicking a field goal from there. And if they pick up a first down, the game's over anyway. I don't get it, but that's that. Anyway, that is the Week 7 recap. I'm on the road right now, and I'll be on the road quite a bit, but I will try to, get these out as much as possible, talk some hoops, and, we'll be at the Chargers-Vikings game on Thursday. I'm excited for that, even though it's Carson Wentz. But at the end of the day, I'm still a Vikings fan, so I got to root for them. I hope they get it done, but it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good, and I just want to see J.J. McCarthy, and now we got to wait at least another 10 days because this is a Thursday game, and they don't play again until the week after that in Detroit. And maybe we'll see J.J. McCarthy then. Till then, you guys have a good week. I'll talk to y'all soon.